When you open your eyes in the morning, you are not just waking up your body, you're waking up your mind, your emotions, and your potential for the day ahead. Most people roll out of bed without thinking about the fact that the first few minutes of their day are setting the stage for everything that follows. They grab their phone, check social media, read some bad news, or replay yesterday's mistakes in their mind. And then they wonder why they feel stressed, distracted, or unmotivated before they've even brushed their teeth. But here's the truth. Your morning mindset shapes your entire day. The thoughts you allow yourself to think when you first wake up are not random, they are powerful signals to your brain, telling it what to look for, how to interpret the world, and how to react to whatever comes your way. Think of your mind as a GPS system. If you program it in the morning with confusion, fear, or negativity, that's the destination it will drive you toward. But if you set it with clarity, positivity, and determination, that's exactly where it will take you. This is not just motivational fluff, it's neuroscience. Your brain has something called the reticular activating system, which filters information based on what you've told it is important. If you wake up saying, "I'm tired, today's going to be hard," your RAS will search for proof of that. But if you wake up saying, "I'm ready to find solutions, I'm ready to grow today," your brain will scan for opportunities and resources instead of problems and obstacles. The way you prime your mind in those first few moments literally decides what you notice and how you respond. Jordan Peterson often talks about the importance of order and responsibility, and that starts with the order of your thoughts. Chaos in your mind leads to chaos in your actions, and order in your mind leads to focused, intentional movement. When you take charge of your first thoughts, you are taking charge of your day before the world has a chance to do it for you. Tony Robbins calls this taking control of your state. If you control your state, you control your decisions. If you control your decisions, you control your destiny, and it all begins with the morning. Imagine you're an athlete about to run the most important race of your life. Would you start without warming up, without stretching, without preparing your body and mind for peak performance? Of course not. But that's exactly what most people do every single morning. They step into the race of life without mentally preparing themselves to perform at their best. They let the external world dictate their mood and focus instead of intentionally setting it themselves. A winning day doesn't happen by accident. It's engineered from the moment you wake up. The power of your morning mindset is not about ignoring reality or pretending everything is perfect. It's about choosing the lens you see reality through. Life will always have challenges. There will be things you cannot control: the weather, other people's opinions, unexpected events. But the one thing that will always remain under your control is how you respond, and that response is shaped by the state you're in. When you train yourself to wake up with empowering thoughts, you're programming your mind to respond with strength instead of weakness, with creativity instead of panic, with focus instead of distraction. The quality of your morning mindset also compounds over time. One positive morning sets up one good day, but 30 positive mornings in a row set up a month of progress. A year of intentional mornings can transform your career, your relationships, your health, and your overall life satisfaction. That's because your habits, mental and physical, create momentum. Just like a train starting on the tracks, it might take a little push to get moving at first. But once it's in motion, it's incredibly hard to stop. Your morning mindset is that first push. There's another layer to this, and it's about identity. The way you think in the morning is not just about what you'll do that day, it's about who you're becoming. If you wake up every morning and say to yourself, "I'm disciplined, I'm focused, I'm resourceful," you're reinforcing an identity of someone who takes action, someone who moves forward. And identity is the most powerful driver of long-term behavior change. You won't always feel motivated, but if your morning mindset reminds you of who you are and what you stand for, you'll take action even on the days when you don't feel like it. Here's the beautiful part: shifting your morning mindset doesn't require hours of meditation or complex rituals. It can be as simple as taking 60 seconds before you get out of bed to decide the kind of day you want to create. Ask yourself, what's my focus today? How do I want to show up? What's one thing I'm grateful for right now? This small act flips a mental switch from reaction to creation. You're no longer passively waiting for the day to happen to you, you're actively shaping it. If you truly want to change your life, start with the very first thoughts you think each morning. Guard them fiercely. Feed them intentionally. Don't let habit or negativity rob you of your most valuable mental real estate. The beginning of your day. When you start with focus, gratitude, and purpose, you don't just create a better day, you create a better life, one morning at a time. Your morning mindset is the seed. Plant it with intention, water it with action, and watch it grow into the future you've always wanted. Words are not just sounds that come out of your mouth, they are blueprints for the life you're building. Every single thing you say to yourself, whether out loud or silently in your head, is programming your mind to expect a certain outcome. The truth is, most people don't even realize how much their words are shaping their reality. They casually say things like, "I'm not good at this," "I never get a break," or "this is just who I am," and they think it's harmless, but those words are instructions to the brain. They tell your subconscious what to look for, what to filter out, and even how to behave. Science backs this up. Your brain processes language in ways that impact your emotions, your physiology, and your behavior. When you say something negative about yourself, your mind doesn't treat it as a joke. It begins scanning for evidence to support it. That's why you notice more failures, more problems, and more reasons to quit when you use disempowering language. On the other hand, when you use empowering words, you're giving your brain a different set of instructions to look for opportunities, to see strengths, and to move towards solutions. This is why high performers, leaders, and change makers are intentional about the language they use every single day. The words you speak to yourself in the morning are especially powerful because they're setting the tone for the hours ahead. If you wake up and immediately say, "I'm so tired," your mind starts looking for proof of fatigue. You'll notice every little thing that feels like an effort, and you'll feel heavier throughout the day. But if you wake up and say, "I have energy, I'm ready, I'm going to make today count," your brain shifts into a different mode. You start to feel more alert. You notice opportunities you would have missed, and you approach challenges with a problem-solving mindset instead of a defeated one. Jordan Peterson talks about the importance of telling the truth not just to others, but to yourself. That doesn't mean lying about how you feel, but it does mean choosing words that move you forward instead of holding you back. If you've had a rough night's sleep, you can still acknowledge it without programming yourself for a bad day. Instead of saying, "I'm exhausted, I can't do anything today," you could say, "I didn't get much rest, so I'll be intentional about my energy and focus." The first statement shuts down possibility. The second one opens the door for solutions. Tony Robbins often says, "Change your words, change your life." And he's right. Words are triggers for emotion, and emotion drives action. If you want to take better actions, you have to put yourself in better emotional states, and one of the fastest ways to do that is by upgrading the language you use. When you start your morning with words of power, words like growth, strength, possibility, focus, gratitude, you are literally wiring your brain to expect and create those things. Think about how athletes speak to themselves before a big game. They don't say, "Well, I hope I don't screw up today." They say things like, "I'm ready, I've trained for this, this is my moment." Why? Because they know that the mind follows the words and the body follows the mind. The same applies to you. Whether you're walking into a meeting, dealing with a challenge, or simply trying to have a productive day, the words you use will either prepare you for success or prime you for failure. There's also the social element. The way you speak to yourself influences the way you speak to others. If you're constantly putting yourself down internally, that energy leaks into your conversations, and people sense it. But when you build yourself up with empowering language, you naturally communicate with more confidence and positivity, and people respond to that. This is how words can create a ripple effect that changes not just your day, but your relationships, your career, and your overall life. Now, here's where it gets really practical. You can create a short set of empowering statements, affirmations, if you will, and repeat them every morning. But these can't just be generic phrases you don't connect with. They need to be personal, specific, and believable enough that your mind accepts them. For example, instead of saying, "I'm a billionaire," when you're not even close, you could say, "I'm building wealth every day." That statement is true, it's empowering, and it focuses your mind on progress. Over time, as you build momentum, you can evolve your statements to reflect the next level of your growth. It's also worth noting that words without action are hollow. You can't just talk yourself into a better life and expect it to happen without effort. But here's the thing, the right words make effort easier. They put you in the kind of emotional and mental state that makes action more natural. If you say, "I'm committed to my health," You're far more likely to choose a healthy breakfast than if you say, I have no willpower. The words come first, the mindset follows, and then the actions flow from there. So every morning, before the noise of the world gets to you, speak words that lift you up. Words that make you feel strong, capable, and purposeful. Words that remind you who you are and what you're capable of. Over time, you'll start to notice a shift. You'll see more possibilities. You'll handle challenges better. And eventually, you'll realize something incredible. You didn't just change the words. You changed the reality they were describing. You can speak the most powerful affirmations in the world every morning, but if they are not followed by action, they will eventually become empty noise. Words are the spark, but action is the fire. The real transformation happens when you take the belief you've built with your words and convert it into tangible steps that move you forward. Too many people repeat positive phrases to themselves and then go about their day making choices that completely contradict what they just said. They say, I'm committed to my health, but then skip breakfast or grab junk food on the way to work. They tell themselves, I'm going to take control of my finances, but then spend impulsively before the day is even over. Without action, affirmations lose their power because your brain begins to recognize the gap between what you say and what you do. The beauty of pairing affirmations with action is that it creates a feedback loop of confidence. When you say something empowering and then immediately follow through with an action that reinforces it, your brain starts to believe it on a deeper level. This isn't just psychology, it's biology. Your mind creates neural connections based on repeated experiences. If your experiences consistently match your affirmations, those connections grow stronger and the belief becomes part of your identity. Once something becomes part of your identity, it's not just something you try to do, it's who you are. Think about an athlete again. They might start their day with affirmations like, I am disciplined, I push through limits, I play to win. But if they say those words and then skip practice, the affirmation falls apart. However, if they say those words and then hit the gym, train with intensity, and keep showing up even on the hard days, those affirmations become reality. They stop being just phrases and start being truth. Jordan Peterson emphasizes personal responsibility, and this applies here perfectly. When you speak affirmations, you are making a promise to yourself. And when you keep that promise with action, you strengthen your self-respect. But when you break that promise repeatedly, you weaken your trust in yourself. One of the reasons so many people feel stuck is because they've made and broken so many promises to themselves that they no longer believe their own words. The way out of that cycle is simple. Start small. Keep your promises, and let your actions prove your words. The key is to align your affirmations with specific, measurable actions. If you tell yourself in the morning, I'm building my dream business, then decide what that means in terms of action for that day. Maybe it's making 5 sales calls, sending out 2 proposals, or dedicating 3 hours to deep work without distractions. If you tell yourself, I'm committed to my health, define the exact action you will take. It could be a 30-minute workout, preparing a healthy lunch, or drinking a set amount of water. The alignment between what you say and what you do is what creates the real transformation. Tony Robbins often says the path to success is to take massive, determined action. But massive action doesn't always mean doing something huge in the moment. It means showing up consistently every single day with intentional effort that compounds over time. Your affirmations give you the mental and emotional fuel, and your actions turn that fuel into forward motion. Even on days when you don't feel like it, taking some form of aligned action is essential because it maintains the integrity between your words and your behavior. There's another important aspect here. Action validates belief, and belief sustains action. If you try to act without belief, you'll burn out quickly because there's no emotional energy driving you. If you try to believe without acting, you'll eventually lose faith because nothing is changing. But when you combine the two, you create momentum. That momentum becomes self-reinforcing. You start to see progress, which strengthens your belief, which motivates more action, and the cycle continues. This principle is powerful in every area of life. In relationships, telling yourself, I'm a loving and attentive partner, has no meaning unless you act in loving and attentive ways. In personal growth, telling yourself, I'm constantly learning and improving, means nothing unless you actually read the book, take the course, or practice the skill. In financial growth, saying, "I'm financially responsible," has to be matched by budgeting, saving, and wise investing. Without action, your affirmations remain untested theories. With action, they become lived truths. It's also worth mentioning that action builds credibility not just with yourself, but with others. People believe what you do far more than what you say. If your colleagues, friends, or family see you consistently taking actions that align with your words, they start to trust you more. That trust opens doors, builds opportunities, and strengthens relationships. On the other hand, if there's a gap between your words and your actions, people will eventually stop listening to what you say. One way to ensure your affirmations lead to action is to create a simple daily system. Start your morning by speaking your affirmations with intensity and focus. Then immediately decide the top 1 to 3 actions that will prove those affirmations today. Write them down, schedule them, and most importantly, do them before the day's distractions pull you away. This way, your affirmations aren't just hopeful statements, they become marching orders for your brain and body. At the end of the day, the real magic is in the combination. Affirmations without action are like seeds left on a shelf. They have potential, but nothing will grow. Action without affirmations is like planting seeds in poor soil. You may see some results, but they won't reach their full potential. But affirmations backed by action, that's like planting high-quality seeds in rich soil and watering them daily. Over time, you won't just change your day, you'll change your life. Discipline is often misunderstood. People think it's about restriction, about forcing yourself to do things you hate, about living in a constant state of self-denial. But in reality, discipline is the foundation of freedom. Without discipline, you're controlled by impulses, distractions, and short-term desires that pull you away from what you truly want. With discipline, you control your direction, your progress, and ultimately, your life. It's the invisible structure that holds up your dreams, and the morning is the best time to strengthen it. When you wake up and immediately follow through on the commitments you've made to yourself, whether it's getting out of bed when your alarm goes off, doing your morning workout, meditating, or reviewing your goals, you're proving to yourself that you can trust your own word. That trust is critical, because if you can't count on yourself to follow through on the small things, how will you ever follow through on the big ones? This is where the compounding effect of discipline comes in. Small wins build confidence, and that confidence fuels bigger wins. Most people think freedom means doing whatever you want, whenever you want. But if you've ever lived that way, you know it often leads to chaos. You end up reacting to life instead of creating it. True freedom comes from knowing you have the strength to choose your actions instead of being dragged around by your moods. Discipline gives you that strength. It's the muscle that lets you say, "This is what I'm committed to, and I'm doing it regardless of how I feel right now." Tony Robbins often talks about the power of rituals, small, repeated actions that shape your state and your results. Morning discipline is a ritual that sets the tone for everything else. If the first thing you do each day is keep a promise to yourself, you start the day in a position of power. That might mean exercising even when you don't feel like it, taking time to plan your day instead of jumping into it blindly, or practicing gratitude before you let the world pull your attention. These acts might seem small, but over weeks and months, they create an unshakable foundation for success. Jordan Peterson emphasizes order, and order starts with you. If you can't organize your own time, your own habits, your own thoughts, you'll struggle to bring order to anything else in your life. Discipline is how you impose that order on yourself. It's how you create a stable platform to build your goals on. Without it, everything you're building is on shaky ground. It doesn't matter how inspired you feel one day. If you lack the discipline to keep showing up, your progress will collapse the moment motivation fades. Motivation is fleeting, discipline is steady. You might wake up some days feeling fired up and ready to conquer the world, but there will be other days when you feel tired, discouraged, or distracted. Those are the days when discipline matters most, because discipline doesn't care about your mood. Discipline is a decision, not a feeling. It's the ability to act according to your values and long-term goals instead of your momentary emotions. That's why disciplined people are often seen as lucky. They consistently put themselves in positions where opportunities can find them. There's also a deeper psychological benefit to discipline. It builds self-respect. When you consistently follow through on what you say you're going to do, you start seeing yourself as someone who is capable, reliable, and strong. This changes the way you approach challenges. Instead of thinking, "I hope I can handle this," you think, "I've proven to myself I can handle hard things, so let's go." This confidence is not arrogance, it's earned through daily practice. One of the best ways to strengthen discipline in the morning is to start with something simple but non-negotiable. For some, it's making the bed. For others, it's drinking a glass of water, stretching for 5 minutes, or writing down the top 3 priorities for the day. The key is that it's something you commit to doing every single morning, no excuses. That consistency creates momentum, and momentum makes it easier to tackle bigger challenges throughout the day. Discipline in the morning also acts as a filter. It forces you to focus on what really matters. When you train yourself to follow through on purposeful actions first thing in the day, you naturally start cutting out the time, wasting habits that don't serve you. You stop lingering in bed scrolling through your phone. You stop letting the news or social media dictate your mood before you've even had breakfast. Instead, you step into the day with intention, grounded in habits that align with your goals. The beauty of discipline is that it compounds over time, just like investing. At first, the results may seem small. You might think, "What's the big deal about keeping this little promise to myself?" But over months and years, those small acts build into extraordinary results. Just like a tiny stream carves a deep canyon over time, your daily discipline shapes the entire course of your life. And here's the paradox: the more disciplined you are, the more freedom you have. When you're disciplined with your health, you have the freedom to live with energy and vitality. When you're disciplined with your finances, you have the freedom to make choices without constant stress. When you're disciplined with your time, you have the freedom to focus on the things and people that truly matter to you. Discipline isn't a prison, it's the key that unlocks the door to the life you want. Every morning is an opportunity to practice that discipline. It's a chance to show yourself, again and again, that you are in control of your actions and your future. It's the daily reminder that you're not just hoping for a better life, you're building it, brick by brick, with the choices you make when no one else is watching. Gratitude and responsibility might seem like 2 separate ideas, but together they form one of the most powerful forces for building a meaningful life. Gratitude is the practice of seeing and acknowledging the good that's already in your life, while responsibility is the commitment to act on what you can control to make things better. When you begin each morning with these 2 in balance, you set yourself up not just for success, but for fulfillment. Because success without gratitude feels empty, and gratitude without responsibility becomes complacency. Gratitude changes the way you perceive your life. When you intentionally focus on what's good, your health, your relationships, your opportunities, even the challenges that are shaping you, you shift your mind from scarcity to abundance. You stop fixating on what's missing and start appreciating what's already here. This doesn't mean ignoring your problems. It means you choose to see the whole picture, not just the dark spots. Neuroscience shows that gratitude literally rewires your brain, activating regions associated with motivation and emotional regulation, which makes it easier to stay positive and resourceful throughout the day. But gratitude alone isn't enough. If all you do is feel grateful, but you never take responsibility for improving your situation, you can slip into passivity. You might feel content for a moment, but nothing changes. That's where responsibility comes in. Responsibility says, "I am grateful for what I have, and because of that, I'm going to use it wisely." It's the act of taking ownership over your choices, your habits, and your outcomes. Responsibility isn't about blaming yourself for everything. It's about recognizing that you have influence over how you respond to life's circumstances. Jordan Peterson often speaks about the importance of carrying your own load, that life is full of suffering. But it becomes meaningful when you voluntarily take on the responsibility to make it better. When you pair that with gratitude, something powerful happens. Gratitude gives you perspective, responsibility gives you direction. Together, they create a mindset where you can face challenges with strength instead of bitterness, and pursue goals with purpose instead of desperation. Tony Robbins has said many times that trade-offs in life are inevitable, but when you live with gratitude, those trade-offs feel worth it. You can push yourself to work hard because you're thankful for the chance to build something. You can endure discomfort because you see it as part of a larger process you're blessed to be part of. And when you take responsibility, you stop waiting for someone else to solve your problems or for circumstances to magically improve. You realize you are the one who has to move the needle. Starting your day with gratitude is simple but transformative. Before you even reach for your phone, take a few minutes to think about 3 things you're truly grateful for. They don't have to be big, in fact. The smaller and more specific, the better. It could be the fact that you woke up healthy, that you have access to clean water, or that you get to pursue a goal you care about. The point is to ground yourself in the reality that there is already good in your life, and that alone is a reason to move forward with energy. Right after gratitude, connect to responsibility. Ask yourself, given what I have today, what will I do with it? If you're grateful for your health, maybe your responsibility is to fuel your body with the right food and movement. If you're grateful for your career opportunity, your responsibility is to give your best effort and learn as much as you can. If you're grateful for your family, your responsibility is to be present and supportive. Gratitude gives you the why, responsibility gives you the how. One of the biggest shifts this creates is in your sense of control. People who live without gratitude often feel resentful because they're constantly comparing themselves to others and focusing on what they lack. People who live without responsibility often feel helpless because they're waiting for external forces to fix things. But when you combine the two, you feel empowered. You see the good, you appreciate it, and you act to protect and expand it. That mindset makes you resilient because even when life throws setbacks at you, you can still find something to be grateful for and something you can do about it. Another benefit is that gratitude and responsibility reinforce each other. The more grateful you are, the more you want to take care of what you have. The more responsibility you take, the more you recognize new blessings to be grateful for. This creates a positive feedback loop that not only improves your results, but also improves your emotional state along the way. Life stops feeling like something you have to endure and starts feeling like something you get to engage with. In practical terms, you can make this a daily ritual. In the morning, write down 1 sentence about what you're grateful for, and 1 sentence about what responsibility you will take that day. For example, I'm grateful for my ability to learn new things. Today, I will use that ability by studying for 30 minutes to improve my skills. Or I'm grateful for my family's support. Today, I will show my appreciation by calling them and spending time together. These small daily alignments, when repeated over months and years, fundamentally change the trajectory of your life. And here's the truth. This mindset isn't just about improving your day, it's about building a character you can be proud of. Gratitude shapes your heart. Responsibility shapes your backbone. Together, they turn you into someone who not only achieves but also inspires. Because when people see someone who works hard out of appreciation rather than fear, who takes ownership instead of making excuses, they can't help but respect that. And often, they're inspired to do the same in their own lives. When you wake up every morning grateful for what you have and ready to act on what you can control, you stop living as a passive participant in life. You become a creator, a builder, and a leader not because you have everything figured out, but because you're committed to making the most of whatever you've been given. That's when life stops feeling like it's happening to you and starts feeling like it's happening for you. Clarity of purpose is one of the most powerful forces you can have in your life, and it's also one of the most overlooked. Too many people wake up each day without a clear answer to the question, why am I doing what I'm doing? They go through their mornings on autopilot, reacting to whatever comes their way instead of intentionally moving toward a destination that matters to them. Without clarity of purpose, it's easy to get lost in distractions, to chase things that don't really fulfill you, or to quit when challenges show up. But when you have a clear sense of why you're doing something, you can endure almost anyhow. Purpose acts like a compass. It doesn't matter how chaotic the world gets, or how many detours life throws at you, if you know your true north. You can always reorient yourself, and keep moving in the right direction. This is why starting your day by reconnecting with your purpose is so powerful. It's not just about motivation, it's about alignment. When your daily actions line up with your deeper purpose, even mundane tasks take on meaning, and obstacles become part of the journey instead of roadblocks. Jordan Peterson often talks about aiming at the highest good you can conceive of. And that's essentially what purpose is. Choosing a meaningful target for your life and orienting your actions toward it. This doesn't mean you have to have your entire life mapped out. Purpose can evolve over time as you grow and learn. But in the present moment, you need to know what you're aiming for and why it matters to you. Without that, your energy gets scattered and you end up working hard on things that don't bring real fulfillment. Tony Robbins often says that people are not lazy. They simply have goals that don't inspire them. When you're clear on your purpose, inspiration comes naturally because you're emotionally connected to what you're doing. You're not just going to work. You're building something that aligns with your values. You're not just exercising. You're investing in the energy and health you need to live fully. You're not just learning a skill. You're equipping yourself to make a greater contribution. That emotional connection is what fuels consistency, and consistency is what produces results. The mornings are the best time to remind yourself of your purpose, because they set the tone for how you use your time and energy. Before the noise of the day pulls you in 100 different directions, take a few minutes to ask yourself, what matters most to me today? How does what I'm about to do serve my bigger vision? This simple habit can prevent you from getting lost in busyness that doesn't move you forward. Clarity of purpose also transforms how you handle struggle. When you don't know why you're doing something, any difficulty feels like a reason to quit. But when you have a compelling reason, challenges become fuel. You start to see them as tests that are shaping you into the person who can achieve your vision. For example, if your purpose is to provide a better life for your family, a tough day at work isn't just an inconvenience, it's part of the price you're willing to pay to give them that life. If your purpose is to master a craft, the long hours of practice aren't a burden, they're an investment. Purpose doesn't eliminate discomfort, but it gives it meaning, and meaning changes everything. It shifts you from asking, why is this happening to me, to how can this serve me? That shift in perspective keeps you resilient when others might give up. Clarity of purpose also keeps you from falling into the trap of comparison. When you know exactly what you're working toward and why, you stop measuring yourself against people on a completely different path. You realize that their wins or losses have nothing to do with your race. Your energy goes into running your own course, not trying to keep up with someone else's. That alone can free you from an enormous amount of stress and self-doubt. To cultivate clarity of purpose, you need to spend time reflecting on your values, your strengths, and the impact you want to make. Ask yourself, what matters so deeply to me that I'd be willing to work for it, sacrifice for it, even suffer for it? The answer doesn't have to be grand or glamorous. It just has to be real to you. Once you've identified it, write it down and keep it visible. Read it every morning. Let it remind you that what you're doing today is part of something bigger than today. It's also important to break your purpose down into daily actions. If your purpose is abstract, it's inspiring but not actionable, you need to translate it into things you can do right now. For instance, if your purpose is to inspire others through teaching, your daily actions might be preparing better lessons, reading to deepen your knowledge, or mentoring someone one-on-one. If your purpose is to build a business that creates opportunities for others, your daily actions might be making sales calls, improving your product, or developing your team. Each small action becomes a brick in the foundation of your bigger vision. Over time, this habit of aligning your mornings with your purpose creates a deep sense of satisfaction. You stop feeling like you're just going through the motions because every day is a step, even if it's a small one, towards something meaningful. You also become more adaptable. If life changes and you need to adjust your goals, you can do it without losing direction because your deeper purpose remains intact. When you wake up with clarity of purpose, you don't waste energy on distractions that don't serve you. You make decisions faster because you know what fits your vision and what doesn't. You show up with more energy because you're not just working, you're working for something you believe in. And perhaps most importantly, you end your days with a sense of progress instead of regret. A clear purpose gives you the strength to keep going when others stop, the focus to stay on course when others wander, and the joy of knowing that your life is moving in the direction you've chosen, not one that's been chosen for you. That's the kind of power that can change not just your mornings, but your entire life.